East, aren't we?
I-85 corridor into Banks County with Stewart.
Out where you are, the little on the ground. Are you seeing any signs, even though we're not really quite in the freezing here time of the night? Any signs that this is moving, melting at all?
Yeah, I think Blackstone was talking 32 degrees right now, but we have 7 degrees here in Commerce, in the Commerce. We've got guys that park over here and actually asking like the border. So we're all the way from Atlanta all the way up here up to 85. And to give you a look right here, it's really good right now.
Precipitation, this rain, does start freezing over. That's going to be a really big concern. Continuing to come through with cloudy.
Expect these guys to
LCS line, a linear line in this area, starting late in the morning, early afternoon hours. That line's been out right now. It's going to have a lot of spin embedded within it. It is a few LCS tornadoes rolling at afternoon hours, but another person is looking at but again, if you think across southern Alabama, better east of Georgia. See in the southeast here, it's a low cape high jet. You have a fly across the jet of the region. The low level jet. Winds in the north right here. It's a very low level jet. That's what's going to start to see what's
very quiet. People are iced in, Scott, not even snowed in, iced in. If you take a look across the street here, we'll see why. There is a power line that is just a few feet above the ground. They are weighed down by ice and icicles. This is the scene throughout Williamson County. As about 1,000 people in this immediate area in Franklin are without power, and about 13,000 are out in the entire Middle Tennessee electric area. So many people at this point are trying to find other places to stay warm. Just about a block away from here, as we were driving down, a tree fell. Thankfully, it didn't hit us. There's been a few moments. The Franklin fire was right there, but one gentleman we spoke to said he was going to then walk. So he would get his car out, walk to his family's house about 3 minutes away because they still had power. So that was the type of situation here where it's rare. So when the fire was right, they knew that we got there. I spoke to one man who just asked us, he said he's not in the warm shelter just yet. They stocked up on wood and they're going to use their fireplace for now. In Williamson County, we have both Franklin and Fairview High Schools that are warm shelters at this point. Middle Tennessee Electric nearly, they've got 500 to 600 numbers out and about right now. As far as contract workers, trying to get everything back online, but I'm told this is going to be a long process. The restoration will definitely be until tomorrow. And with all the snow and ice that has fallen, it's not going anywhere. It's freezing, so we might see even more ground trees and power lines as we move to the next 24 to 48 hours, which could cause more outages. So in Williamson County, we continue to bring you the latest. I know Catalina, 17 News.
Jackknife tractor trailers, the vehicles have all been crashed. We lost power yesterday. I've been in December since I'm just waiting for power to go back to normal.
Where the island's largest hydro station slowly restarted after ice conditions shut it down. Ferries are being hit by brutal winds. In Winnipeg, where it felt like minus 41 on the those without a home have hard time finding shelter. Some settling for a bus shelter. Frontline workers out on the streets, passing out warning orders to schools, looking to save people.
Cold enough for us, and we're out for just a couple hours. Can you imagine being what it's like being out here for 5 hours?
Mayor of Izmir has said that he's willing to open up more city spaces for those without a home. The extreme cold there is expected to ease up a bit. Here in Toronto, though, the snow is forecast to continue through the early morning with as much as 60 centimeters left behind by the storm. Cleanup is expected to take days, and most Toronto schools are closed Monday.
Help us.
Slush on the ground. We woke up this morning and there was complete ice, but then we saw rain move in and then a wintry mix of freezing rain and sleet that hold on to the sleet. The sleet actually had its own little accumulation in the western Puerto Rico, but the birds are still there. At this point, we did see a parade of lightning come through. We do know there are some reports of power outages in neighboring counties, but as we're here in Athabasca County, they've been pretty lucky so far. The concern is overnight. What's going to happen after all this slushy stuff freezes turns back on the ice? As I mentioned throughout the day, UGA students were not protected. It's been fun. A lot of them have been sledding on the hills around the fun
sense of rest as well across our area, and that freezing rain can make that even worse.
Exactly. That's second now. The schools in Clemente out in Sparksville. Sam, we're told that you're at a crash site on Trenton Road. How's the backup looking?
Yeah, Megan, this is actually one of the listed trouble sites, one of about 5 that Clarksville Police sent out yesterday after the storm saying Trenton Creek, or Trenton Road between Spring Creek, which is just to my left here, is an area they know notoriously this street will have issues. And we literally, right before we went on with you, as Jared hands it around slowly, we watched as there was a backup congestion, which you can still see there, but that Jeep to the left was off to the right side, and the car was being pulled up by another car because it had died on the hill. And that car that was being pulled smacked into that white Jeep that's now pulled over to the side. That front left in these storms, there will be power outages, and a lot of folks that are affected by those are people that, for one reason or another, don't have power sources, they don't have heaters, and because of that, they end up relying on some pretty dangerous ways to stay warm, just out of desperation. But there are plenty of things that you can do to stay warm that are a lot safer and use stuff that you probably already have laying around the house. And the first thing you want to do is seal up your home as much as possible. Leaky doors and windows can let a ton of cold air into your house, especially if more than one is leaking. And what you can do about that is just take some painter's tape and seal up the edges of those leaky doors and windows. I really like frost tape because it's wider. You're probably not going to have to use more than one layer on those doors and windows. And then on the bottom, just roll up 1 or 2 towels, stuff them there, and that should help prevent drafts from getting that way. Then you can do other things like take blankets over those doors and windows. And if you have a fireplace and you're not going to use it, like maybe it's unsafe or it doesn't work, then go ahead and put something like a tarp or some trash bags over that, tape to secure it in place. Because if you sit in front of that fireplace, you would be surprised as to how much cold air just blows in straight from there. Then there are other things that you can do to help winterize your windows, like if you have any clear plastic sheeting, the kind that they use for drop cloths or to make greenhouses, then you can take those on the inside of your window frame, and that'll make sort of a miniature greenhouse effect where it helps keep the inside of your house a little bit warmer, especially during the day. And if you don't have any clear plastic sheeting, if you have any clear bubble wrap left over from packages that you got, then you can do the same thing with that. You can also use trash bags, but those don't work quite as well since they don't let light in, but they can be very best to keep but to help with that, you can lay things on the ground, like blankets, or your towels down, or if you're desperate, you can even put clothes on the floor, and that'll help with that. You can also hang blankets from doorways, and if your bed is along an exterior wall, then you can hang a blanket on that wall. That'll just give you a little bit more insulation that helps you stay warm. And y'all, when you're
transmission tower to bring down the plane's pilot and one passenger. The single engine
then pick the sunniest room in your house, probably somewhere on like the south-facing wall, as long as it isn't covered by trees. And if at all possible, try to do the greenhouse thing on the windows that I talked about.
Jeff, if you have power now, has the threat of losing it already passed?
Taken to local trauma centers after suffering serious.
But the things that you don't want to do though is use your gas stove top for heat or your gas oven, because those were never designed for that. They'll
66-year-old Jan Williams of Louisiana. Berkeley Williams stayed in touch with rescuers during the ordeal, waving out the plane window, communicating through the night by phone.
We seen the flashlight from the bedroom window, and I thought it was raining at first, and then just heard the pow, and then we came out here, and
especially in the mountain areas.
The crash happened during a rainy and foggy Sunday that delayed commercial flights in the D.C. area, but it's unclear if that contributed to the incident. The collision knocked out power to more than 100,000 customers in the D.C. suburbs, with most service being restored by the morning.
Never seen anything like this before. It's amazing, that they're okay.
Isolations of snow and enough freezing rain is due to widespread power outages and hospitalities to date. More than 100 snow and enough freezing rain is leading to widespread power outages and travel chaos for days. More than 150 million people will be impacted by a big winter storm Friday through Monday from Mexico to North Carolina and then up the East Coast even through May. Things kick off Friday in Texas and Oklahoma, and you could see impacts here even in places like Dallas, Oklahoma City, over into Arkansas too. Friday, Dallas, get ready for freezing rain. You're in the prime zone for widespread power outages and other impacts from this. Further to the north, in places like Wichita, Springfield, it's more going to be snow. This starts to spread east into the southeast, but you're still going to be seeing impacts in places like Oklahoma and Texas for a couple of days, really Tuesday weekend. And the worst of the freezing rain is going to stretch from Dallas up into Tennessee, Atlanta. You're going to get hit hard by this, and then even over into the Carolinas. The northern portion of this map is showing you where you're most likely to have sleet. So your area, yeah, it's most likely going to be freezing rain. As things spread east into the weekend, we start to see impacts in from Columbia, South Carolina, out to Richmond, Virginia, somewhere like D.C., Philadelphia, New York, we have our eye on unusual snow. In addition to widespread power outages, expect roads, especially in the south, to be impassable for days. Looking at the areas that got rain, especially. A lot of flight cancellations. Saturday and Sunday, we are forecasting thousands of cancellations, and then expect other delays as well. Because cold air sticks with us, it's going to take a while to fully clean up and recover from all of this.
Stay in a safe place. Don't move. Don't try and move around.
Outside now, smoking.
NTSB.
Long delay flight late tonight with more transportation. Secretary Sean Duffy back to more or less normal until maybe Wednesday. And when you're looking at long time,
thank you very much. CBS News meteorologist Rob Arthur.
What meteorologists are calling a once-in-a-generation winter event. Louisiana remains paralyzed as winter storm flurry continues to blanket the deep south in a lethal layer of ice and snow. As of Monday, January 26, 2026, the state is grappling with widespread infrastructure failure, a rising death toll, and a historic power crisis that has left hundreds of households in the dark during sub-freezing temperatures. Governor Jeff Lansing, who declared a state of emergency earlier this week, has requested immediate federal federal intervention. This is not just a weather event. It is a humanitarian crisis, Landry stated during a press briefing at the governor's mansion, which is currently running on generator power. Mounting. At least 6 deaths have been officially confirmed by the Louisiana Department of Health. In Shreveport, 2 elderly individuals succumbed to hypothermia inside the house after the heating system failed. In Alexandria, a family of 4 was rushed to the hospital with severe carbon monoxide poisoning. Tragically, 2 children did not survive. Authorities believe the family was running a portable generator in a semi-enclosed garage to stay warm. The remaining fatalities involve a multi-vehicle pileup on a frozen bridge over the Atchafalaya Basin. Health officials are issuing urgent pleas to the public. If you are using a generator, it must be at least 20 feet away from any window, door, or vent. Carbon monoxide is a silent killer, and in this cold, it is claiming more lives than the ice itself. The ice accumulation, which reached upwards of 0.75 inches in some northern parishes, has caused catastrophic damage to the electrical grid. Over 125,000 customers are currently without power. The hardest hit areas include Ouachita, Lincoln, and Bossier parishes. Utility companies like Entergy Louisiana and CLECO report that the weight of the ice on power lines, combined with falling frozen pine branches, has snapped hundreds of utility poles. Entergy officials warn that while crews are working 24/7, the restoration process is excruciatingly slow. In the Interstate 20 corridor, power is expected to be restored to 80% of customers by Wednesday night, January 28, 2026. But rural residents may face a week or more in the cold. The freezing temperatures have not only snapped wires, but also burst pipes. The city of Monroe issued a citywide boil water advisory after power surges crippled the main water treatment plant's pumps. Residents are being urged to conserve water as pressure remains critically low. Transportation has come to a virtual standstill. Interstate 20 and Interstate 49 were closed for significant stretches as hundreds of 18-wheelers became jackknifed on the black ice. The Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, DOTD, has deployed all available salt and sand trucks, but the sheer volume of
he was telling us how he was managing to do that.
has rendered many secondary roads impassable. In response to the crisis, the Louisiana National Guard has been deployed to conduct door-to-door wellness checks. Currently, 76 warming centers have been opened across the state, providing hot meals, blankets, and a safe place to sleep for those whose homes have become uninhabitable. The resilience of Louisianans is being tested, said Major General Thomas Curtis of the National Guard. But we are seeing neighbors helping neighbors, sharing firewood and supplies. We will get through this. The National Weather Service, NWS, warns that while the precipitation has largely ceased, the danger is far from over. A hard freeze warning remains in effect through Thursday morning, meaning any melted ice will refreeze overnight, creating black ice conditions that are nearly invisible to drivers. Meanwhile, as Winter Storm Fern grips the state of Louisiana in a lethal shroud of ice, the Department of Public Safety has confirmed a series of catastrophic accidents that have claimed lives and left dozens injured. With over 0.5 to 1 inch of ice accumulation reported on major overpasses, the state's infrastructure has transformed into a skating rink, leading to what officials describe as unprecedented road carnage. The most devastating incident occurred early Sunday morning on Interstate 20, just east of Minden. What began as a single vehicle losing traction quickly escalated into a massive 40-vehicle pileup involving at least 15 semi-trucks.
It is finally
Witnesses
ending
describe
after
a scene
more
of
than
chaos
36
as heavy
hours
rigs,
of off and
unable to brake on the black ice, slammed into passenger cars already stalled on the highway.
But the 1 to 2
Louisiana State Police, LSP, confirmed 3 fatalities at this location alone. The sound was like a series of explosions, said Marcus Thorne, a truck driver who narrowly avoided the collision. Once you hit that patch of ice, your brakes are useless. You're just a passenger.
David Wade. This turned out to be one of the biggest snowstorms on record in Boston. Eric Fisher has today's final snow totals.
All right, David. Well, it was a heck of a day and a heck of a storm out there. The last
After his van plummeted into a frozen creek bed after sliding off a bridge that had not yet been sanded. Colonel Brian Zeringue of the Louisiana State Police issued a stern warning to the public during a televised emergency broadcast. We are seeing people attempting to drive because the sun is out, but the roads are more dangerous now than they were during the snowfall. The melt and freeze cycle is creating a layer of transparent black ice that is impossible to navigate. As of 6 p.m., the following major arteries remain closed or restricted. I-20 westbound/eastbound from the Texas state line to Monroe. I-49 northbound from Alexandria to Shreveport. The Lake Pontchartrain Causeway, restricted to escorted convoys only. Hospitals in North Louisiana are reporting a massive influx of slip and fall injuries alongside car accident victims. Oxnard LSU Health in Shreveport reported that its emergency room is operating at 150% capacity, treating everything from broken hips to severe trauma resulting from the I-20 pileup. Our resources are at the breaking point, said Dr. Elena Rossi, Chief of Trauma. We are asking residents to please stay home. Every person who decides to test the roads is potentially taking an ICU bed away from someone else in need. For those who must travel for emergency reasons, the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development, DOTD, advises: reduce speed significantly. 20 miles per hour is often too fast for iced bridges. Allow at least 10 car lengths between you and the vehicle in front. Ensure your vehicle has blanket.
I settle for less so you can go better with no fire.
It gets messy like it is right now. There's nothing like learning about the neighbors. You never really know what questions to meet until they come in hands.
Is tonight. The ice is expected to harden further, making Wednesday morning's commute equally paramount that has overtaken the typically bustling Tennessee town.
The group is the River Valley Misfit Jeeps. A lot of us sit at home during all this. Our Jeeps are built for stuff like this, so we just go out and tell people where we can.
Jeremy Evans, along with many other Jeep owners, belong to the group River Valley Misfit Jeeps.
Whenever they start hauling snow and the ice stuff, we actually reach out
Ramps
to all
are rapidly refreezing, turning seemingly wet patches into dangerous ice. Neighborhood streets in Hoshton remain buried under slush and ice, making travel nearly impossible for local residents. Public safety officials continue to urge caution, specifically warning that bridges and overpasses are the first to freeze. Icy conditions have also been reported at the roundabout near Hembry Road and Howes Road in Roswell. Although high winds may help dry out some road moisture later today, the region remains under a winter weather advisory. With temperatures expected to drop even further tonight, the threat of black ice is likely to persist through Tuesday morning. For now, authorities praise the community for staying off the roads, which has allowed emergency teams to manage dozens of storm-related calls and focus on restoring essential services.
This is Tiny Notes from Home, and we're surviving
Travel misery continues for some at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, where the winter storm has caused over 1,200 cancellations in the last 24 hours. As of this morning, an additional 200 flights have been scrubbed today, with 79 active delays as crews work around the clock to de-ice planes and treat frozen runways. The travel disruptions have created a significant stranded population.
prepared in advance. So let me show you what we did to prepare and what life is like in the ice without any electricity.
The videographer confirmed that the footage was the real Theo. Definitely not AI, and was not
We don't know how long the power will be out for, and they're calling for sub-freezing temperatures for the next week. So, God bless the line workers for all their hard work out there in these terrible conditions. But we're just thankful to be warm and snug in our family home. The lighting in here won't be great right now, but so all the power lines are way down and broken for who knows how long. But what do we do to get ready for the storm?
We got make sure we had water, we have backup propane, We got all stocked up on the food that we needed.
And the whole town is basically out of propane and gasoline, so people were taking this seriously. I'll walk you around and show you some of the preparations that we made to get ready for the storm.
We turned out the deadly winter storm and the brutal cold now here for days. The death toll rising tonight. Hundreds of thousands without power at this hour.
This wood stove is one of the first things we put
tonight. And this evening, the next potential storm,
goodness
we are already watching here. It could hit the east. Ginger Z,
our primary source of heating and cooling in the house is a number of mini splits. It's kind of scattered throughout the rooms. But obviously those are no good to us when the power is out. And so
path of snow and ice across the U.S. Snowfall rates of up to 2 inches per hour in parts of New York City, totaling more than 11 inches, the most in nearly 5 years.
And this is all ready to go.
On the streets of New York
and
today.
The way that we have light is with battery-powered tools.
You can see the side streets.
We charge all of our batteries in advance, so we have light and light and light, plenty of light to go around.
Snow blowing right through the open doors in this deserted
Lindsay has the tea in the puzzle
island.
It's going well.
Opening doors
Just
to
trying to pass
huge
the
drifts
time
in
a little bit.
Marlboro, New York.
You enjoy puzzles?
The suburbs digging out for more than a foot.
I was expecting a lot, but I didn't think it was going to live up to it, and it did more than that.
Outside Boston, plow crews battling a whopping 22 inches of snow in Sterling, Massachusetts, the most in the state.
Our guys love when we're the jackpot. They kind of take a lot of pride in what we do. We're prepared for it. You know, we would rather be plowing 20 inches, I think, than 2 inches at a time, a bunch of times.
Giant snow melters getting rid of tons of snow in Philadelphia. More than 9 inches there, the city's biggest snowfall in 10 years. In Louisville, officers digging out this driver, pushing him down the road. Across the South, freezing rain and ice thick enough to take down huge trees.
Oh no! Oh no! Oh no!
Heather McApray watching as this one came crashing down. And in Nashville on icy Interstate 65, a big rig crashing into an overhead sign, causing it to collapse and shutting down part of the highway. Hundreds of thousands.
I just wanted to do another video of this gorgeous view.
These power lines arcing south of Nashville
ice on the
Franklin.
trees.
Our Victor Okendo was
They're
there.
causing us to run the generator here in the background.
Snow and ice. Almost everyone here
interesting to note
power.
too.
You can see this
our creek
large
is,
tree.
the top, the surface of the creek is frozen,
and brought some power
all the
lines
way
down with it.
around
And now
to
these
about.
crews are on scene working to restore
because of the
power.
sunshine on the
And in
screen.
Oxford, Mississippi,
But about halfway
so
down to the next
treacherous,
bend.
utility crews were pulled back
It was 3
overnight
degrees
over
at 9
fears of
o'clock
falling
last night.
trees.
And
Authorities issuing a shelter-in-place
plenty
order.
cold right now. We're ready to go back inside.
Confirming at least
And
weather-related
what we're doing
deaths in
inside
that
is
state.
just already showed you
And
the
David, with the
shock
wind
level.
chill, it will feel like below zero across much of the
What we're
Northeast
doing now
and the
here
South, where hundreds of
versus
thousands
a,
of people will be waking up without power. David,
unbelievable storm, so
fireplace,
wide-ranging.
or
With
book
Johnson, our thanks to you.
insert.
Let's get right to Chief Meteorologist Ginger Z, back with us on a Monday night as well. Hi, Ginger.
We also have a
Hi, David. For New York and
12-volt
Philadelphia,
battery
this will be
and
the
an inverter
longest
here
sub-freezing
to
stretch
run our
we've had
fan on
since
the
at
buck
least
stove.
2018. So we are
And
not
give
alone.
us
Look at
nice
all the
heat there.
extreme cold warnings and the alerts that
we have
go
a
down to
charger
the
on
Gulf
that.
Coast, back to
When the
Houston.
generator's
And that's
running,
the
we're
problem
charging
is
the battery.
tomorrow
So when
morning,
the
a place
generator
like northern
kicks off or we
Mississippi
shut
or
it off,
Alabama into Tennessee where they don't have power
then
will
we
have
have about 6
sub-freezing wind
hours
chills potentially,
of the
5
fan
below for
running
Nashville. Now we
just
will
off of
see
a 12-volt
a little
battery,
bubble above 32
deep
for
cycle
the
battery,
midweek,
and
but it doesn't
inverter.
last long. A huge
And,
plunge of cold
anyhow,
air goes even farther south for the weekend.
now we're getting
and we are
some
stuck in
sunshine,
this
supposed to be
pattern,
30
David,
degrees today.
watching the potential for another
Most of-
storm
I
for the
think
East
most of
Coast
the,
by this weekend.
By this weekend, unbelievable. Ginger, thank
melts
you. We'll
off
see
the
you first
trees
thing in the
today.
morning on GMA. The
And,
storm potentially to blame for
then,
a deadly plane crash at Bangor.
anyway,
the images
in
tonight,
our home,
but during
as long as there's
takeoff,
plenty
the
of
storm, the
sunshine,
catching fire.
we
6 people on
generally,
board believed to
the
have
heat
been
doesn't
killed
generally
and
run during the day,
closed.
so
And
it's
tonight,
going to be
storm
warming the
leading to
house
one of the worst days
real
for
nicely
cancellations in U.S. history.
today.
More than 20,000
And,
flights canceled since
anyway, we'll
Friday.
give you
Major hubs in Dallas, New York,
another news
Boston,
update.
slowly getting back to normal, but it could take another day or two.
Thanks for
Tonight,
sticking with
former Olympic
America's
snowboarder
Weather
Ryan
Center.
Wedding in
South
2026 world, the North Pole's ice is shattering records. The South Pole's frozen wilderness is shifting in baffling ways, and scientists, yes, real scientists braving storms, snow, and sub-zero temperatures are racing against time to understand what comes next. The Arctic and Antarctic zones aren't just distant white deserts, they are global climate engines. directly affecting oceans, weather patterns, and even our daily lives. The future of these polar regions is both fascinating and alarming. Today, these zones are sending urgent signals, and the world is finally starting to listen. Let's explore what 2026 has in store. The poles are melting faster than ever. In the Arctic, satellite data shows winter sea ice recently reached its lowest extent on record, lower than any decade in modern history. Scientists warn that if this trend continues, the Arctic could be ice-free during summer within decades. A dramatic transformation for a region frozen for millennia. Multi-year ice, which survives several seasons, is disappearing, leaving only thin ice that melts easily. In Antarctica, the story is equally urgent. While Antarctic sea ice historically fluctuates more than the Arctic, feedback loop is accelerating faster than models predicted. A stark warning for 2026 and beyond. Frost is thawing, destabilizing roads, buildings, and pipelines, releasing methane, a greenhouse gas far more potent than carbon dioxide. Shipping, oil exploration, and tourism are increasing, putting fragile ecosystems under pressure. Antarctica
So as you take a look
of
around,
glacier
the
thickness
crews
matters
actually,
for cities like New York,
came in and tried
Tokyo,
to clean up
and
this
Mumbai.
area, so pushing
These missions
a bunch
are
of
not
branches
easy.
to the side
Scientists
for pick up
brave
here in
blizzards,
this area.
freezing
Cleanup
winds,
is actually
and
starting,
shifting glaciers
but
to
also,
collect
we know
crucial
a lot
data.
of people
A
are
testament to
currently
human
out of
dedication in
power.
the
As you
face
take a
of
look
crisis.
behind me,
Polar
you can
changes
see the
aren't just
power lines
numbers.
right here. Those
Humans
power
and
poles, they
animals are
slanted
directly
to the
impacted.
side.
Caribou
Power
migrations
lines
are shifting.
They have
Salmon runs are
formed
altered.
along those lines. So
In the polar
there's
zones.
a lot of
Adapta-
damage. Oftentimes we cover these winter storms and it snows and then maybe it'll melt,
Sweden and
within
Finland.
the week. But
These
this is
nations
going to
agreed to
melt, and we're
cooperate
gonna
on
have
climate
a lot
research,
of
environmental
devastation
protection,
left for people to
indigenous
have to clean
rights,
up.
maritime
And this is
safety,
gonna take
and
a while
sustainable
for their
development.
recovery
But
here.
2026
Now, as
is
of
testing
now,
that cooperation
the,
like never
outages
before.
numbers, they
As
have
Arctic
been
ice
ranging or
retreats,
hovering
new shipping
around
routes are opening, especially the northern sea route along Russia's coast. For countries like Russia, this means economic opportunity and strategic control, faster trade routes between
saying they've been home. They're sticking it out, hoping that power turns back on soon. Take a listen to what
clearer shipping rules, and binding environmental
We have
protection.
a little gas fireplace in the living room. And
Just
we're,
that Arctic shipping routes may
sleeping
be
next to
navigable
it
for months,
with our
changing
dog.
global trade.
And,
By
we've got
2040,
it up to about
Antarctic
50
ice sheet collapse
indoors.
could accelerate
My
sea
main
level
concern
rise
is
far
getting
beyond
power in
current
the house so
estimates.
we can
By
heat the house
2050, if emissions continue at the current rate, the Arctic could be
50 degrees inside of his home with a fireplace. His neighbor across the street told me she can see her breath inside of her house. She also said her mother, I believe, lives alone, and she's concerned about the elderly that might be trying to stick it out at home, wondering how long can people actually take it until the power comes back on. So again, it's cold. We're in the 30s, so we're getting close to above freezing. So hopefully that'll help a lot of this, what we're seeing, melt. And by the way, this is some of the dangers that we're seeing, Haley. This is a very large branch of this tree that we're taking a look at, these oak trees. This branch is hanging on by a thread. So at some point, this is likely going to fall down. Or if it doesn't fall down, they're going to have to cut it off. A lot of these trees are going to lose a lot of their mass, and it's changing the landscape just a bit here in this area. Residents saying you couldn't see their home. It was blocked by trees and such, and now you can see straight through the area. So power outages, damage to property in terms of trees, power lines, and then of course people just needing resources. A lot of
freezing rain may have stopped falling, but that doesn't mean travel conditions are any safer.
It's kind of tough.
Temps well below freezing have made roads very slick and difficult to travel all across the Piedmont Triad.
We have team coverage of those post-storm impacts. We'll check in with our teams across the Piedmont Triad in just a moment.
First, we want to hear from meteorologist Dave Aiken. Dave, the sun is down and temperatures are about to drop quite a bit.
That's right, Christine. We've got another cold night ahead. I think we'll stay out in the single digits, which is where we were earlier this morning. But it's going to be another cold one. We've got clear skies out there for the most part. Might see a few clouds come along as we get on into the overnight, though, and towards tomorrow morning. But you see still some snow cover across areas of North Carolina A&T State University campus in Greensboro. Sunshine today helped melt some items, and the temperatures did get up into the mid-30s. We're at 32 right at the freezing mark in the Triad now.
Wallace Road are among the more than 100,000 customers, NES customers, that have been without power for several days now. I spoke with a man who said his house is freezing, so he's staying with his cousin over the past few days, and it's because of icy scenes like this one. We're going to pan over to a fallen tree. So trees like this one, they just can't handle the amount of ice that they've been encoded with. So power lines and tree branches just aren't meant to carry such thick ice, and even just a quarter inch adds hundreds of pounds, causing power lines to sag, poles to snap, and branches to fall onto power lines. And as we were driving around the Brentwood and Antioch areas, it wasn't hard to find down trees like these ones. I spoke with one young man in his 20s who lives on Ellington Circle who said the temperature got down to 40 degrees inside of his apartment. He says at night everyone on his street goes out to their cars to warm up and charge their phones. And I also ran into another woman, Asia Whitaker, who was fixing her tire after the icy conditions caused it to pop. She's been staying with a friend while her home has no electricity.
Christine, I'm standing in downtown Winston-Salem where some of the roads are cleared, but there are still some icy slick spots. We just heard from the city who says that they are suspending their road operations.
Dealt with it, but the house was really cold.
Black ice
and then Sunday
along
night
High Point Road and Robbins Road in Winston-Salem, where the streets were covered in solid ice. Winston-Salem police tell us that there were more than 10 vehicles that slid off the road
in like a puffer jacket
and even closed the
like
road
several
for a time
layers of
because of the
pants.
hazardous conditions.
Texting
Along
about trying to figure out
MLK
what to
near
do, my
downtown,
fingers were
conditions were
freezing.
still
I was like,
icy,
okay,
even with the sun out, and drivers were taking it slow because of black ice. Now the Winston-Salem police are
around
asking
Middle
people
Tennessee,
again
pretty
to
much
stay
every
home
single tree
overnight
is encased in a layer of ice, which is making things difficult for NES crews to work on repairs. And as we were driving around town today, when the sun is shining on the trees, it's almost like they're just glistening in the sun, and it's almost like someone took a handful of glitter and just threw it on all the trees because you can see them sparkling in the sunlight. So it's really kind of an oxymoron how something so beautiful can be also so destructive and so damaging to our area. Tori and Kendall, back to you.
A nice warm house, but the power stays on.
Clear. And a live look now at current power outages in the state, according to readync.gov. You'll see here Guilford County has the highest total right now at 1,002 people without power. Earlier today, more than 2,000 were without power in that area. According to Duke Energy, the outage is due to a vehicle damaging some equipment early this afternoon. They hope to get the lights and the heat back on by 8:30 tonight. Overall, the amount of people without power statewide remains fairly low at 1,572. Right now in Greensboro, 2 westbound lanes.
First storm-related fatality here in the Triad. Chris Peterson joins us live from the Lexington Police Department.
Her. The loss is still hard to process.
Our thoughts and prayers are with her family, and we hope she didn't suffer.
Send professional invoices and get paid faster, all with the QuickBooks mobile app. Easily create.
Lexington police are speaking with the DA's office about possible charges in this crash, but investigators I spoke with say they believe the driver of the vehicle and the passengers in the car didn't realize that they had struck a pedestrian. In Lexington, I'm Chris Peterson, WXII 12 News.
All right, Chris, such a sad story. Thanks for that.
You see what we're doing tonight? Get up, go across it. Get up, put a nice warm clothes, make some cappuccino, check out Amtrak. Is it Amtrak delayed? Maybe get lucky. Maybe Amtrak. Get up, fill her water bottle. Make yourself trying to get some heavy warm clothes. Fix a cappuccino. Have some Pop-Tarts. And also check on Amtrak.